This week I wanted to talk about shape, okay, and make that kind of our focus. In the first week we were looking at emotion, expression, and then we were looking at the thrust and the force, and then how the costume hangs based on that. Today what I want to do is I want to focus on designing those shapes and looking for distinctive shapes and how they play against one another, in the overall design of the costume, or the way the model is the action or the acting. I always want to put an emphasis around the acting and action, because it's really about we aren't doing costume design. We're doing a little bit more action analysis, and it's looking at how a costumed person would act, or the action or the way that they would act. So that's kind of our focus, to keep on that kind of action analysis end of a clothes model. So that's kind of where we're going. So I want to look at people like Dean Cornwall. This first image is Dean Cornwall, and you can see where in many ways he's simplified his shapes, but he's edited them, and that editing process and kind of simplifying becomes really important, because how you edit is also going to have something to do with how you emote the idea and express the idea. Okay? And you can see in here he has some straights against curves. He's very deliberate about where he puts shapes, and how he frames the characters with the shadow over the top in this kind of a bizarre setting, where he's got, or it's almost like a tomb, kind of like with an arch behind. He's using the arch to frame. He's using the people on the horses to look down. The child behind is looking out the side of their eye at what's going on. So, as these guys look on. So, you can see how with these guys, these long robes, they pull from a certain direction, they hang in a certain direction, and then he uses these shapes to move your eye around. Again, here's some more shapes. Now, in this, the fabric and stuff in this costume is a lot stiffer. You can see that because it kind of defies gravity in the shoulders and how it hangs down. So, and you can often see that a lot of, images like Tiepolo and some of these artists around that time, they did their idea of these flowing robes, these angels and everything with these flowing robes. They almost didn't have any gravity. That was really kind of the thing. And that was caricaturing this, this kind of more of a spiritual, kind of a bigger than life kind of thing. It appears, I don't have any documented proof on that, but it appears that, they were drawing them as billowing costumes that kind of flowed. They didn't hang or fit tightly at all anywhere. Again, and this image has got people that are active, people that are doing things, and you can see how he designed the way that their costumes hang on them and pull from these areas where they have different forces. There's another one that he highlighted with the white. You can see, you can see how thin his arm is, but you can also see the manner of folds and the way that he uses the light chalk to show those folds and really delineate those forms. Now they're simplified. They're probably the real model probably had more folds and form on them, but he really eliminated them down to the essentials. This is another case of kind of editing down to the essentials. And you can see that, from his waist, his robe pulls out, and then it really angles down. It kind of pulls out and then sharply turns down on a lot of those. And it really makes these robes feel heavy and starched, And look at the contrast on the pants here, from the one leg that's completely straight to designing completely designing a crazy pattern on the opposite leg. And here you can see the focus of designing those shapes as well. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through. Here's a James Montgomery flag drawing. And in this you can see a couple of things he's doing. He's giving you a couple of different value groups, so he's drawing with different density of line, but he's also giving you the direction, how folds would work, and is silhouetting a couple elements and drawing more form into others. Like the man's coat is a dark silhouette, and that you see more folds in his pants. The girl's hat is a silhouette, and you see more folds in her sweater. So we can explore different ideas there. There's a couple drawings from Ivar Healy. And he was documenting life in the Australian infantry. These drawings are a little bit more posed, but they're just such strong drawings, and you really get the feeling of their uniforms, and you get an understanding of them even through their uniforms. You can see where he's even taken the black and reinforced certain marks to give you, accentuate different directional elements. It's another really great image. In this image, he's giving you some real delicate rendering in the face and skin area, and then his shirt he's kept very simple. Another Ivar Healy drawing. So take a look at these and kind of study these. Look for this kind of caricature of how the material hangs on the model and how it will accentuate the mood or the tone or the feeling of what you're drawing. Again, these are a little bit more portrait in their direction, but he's even looked at, he's really analyzing, the folds and the form underneath the materials and stuff. So that's really important. And here's a Jerome Whitkin. There's not a lot of costume on here, but there is a variation of strokes and stuff. We're going to draw a little bit longer. We'll start off with 5s, and then we'll increase, and we'll have a little longer poses, so you'll get a chance to explore a little bit more. Alphonse Mucha, again, accentuating some of the drapery and stuff like that through this image. And you can see in her hair, in the image on the right, her hair, her collar, even her her shawl or her outer cloak that goes over her shoulders and stuff. The swirling nouveau kind of shapes, he's kind of playing those up, and at the bottom as well. So they're all drawn with a design influence. This image I thought was great. It's a little bit more on the realistic side, but when you take a look at the contrast between the way the contrast range in his coat compared to his pants, compared to his shoes, there's a conscious effort there to actually look for and see what's the tonal difference, what's the difference in the kind of the material type, and it comes off really clear with some great distinctions. Beautiful drawing. Again, you can see there's a lot of editing going on in some of the folds. Again, we're going to start off real simple and with shorter poses and break down his costume first. But then I'm going to give you a little bit more time. We can explore a little bit more of this. These were some more. This is a Rembrandt drawing, and last week we talked about different classical artists that actually do a lot of put more expression into their drawings, and I wanted to post some examples. I mentioned that I would post some examples, and these are some examples of artists that are actually putting more action or drawing the action or creating more force in their drawings. So Sargent. I put this in here as well because I thought there's a study of devastated trees from France, And if you take a look at this, take a look at the economy of line of the characters in the lower left, and the roof line, and these broken apart trees. Okay, you see the devastation in the trees. There's no question about that. And just the directional forces of these simplified silhouetted marks of those characters, really, really strong. You can really see the what they're doing and what direction they're looking. You get all of that with just the simplest shapes. Or Sargent. Now, in this one, the robes are kind of suggested a little bit more. They're not really articulated like Cornwall's and Dean Cornwall's and some of the others. They're just pretty much, again, we're kind of getting back to those flowing robes that kind of defy gravity a little bit here. This is a little bit more, more credible to what you might see. There's more of our flowing robes, but we get the sense of this action in here.